Hello. I just want to explain to you what this video is going to be about so that you don't feel as though you've been clickbaited, because I wasn't too sure how to title it. It's a bit of a random one, but I think you'll find it quite interesting. So basically my 2022 Model Y had to go in for a service due to the typical creaking that you get from the suspension, which is getting really quite annoying, quite embarrassing actually. And while I was there, I got the opportunity to test drive a 2025 Model 3, the long range rear wheel drive apparently. So it's a bit of a comparison between the 2022 Model Y, the 2025 Model 3 long range rear wheel drive, but it's also kind of giving you an idea of my experience of Tesla and Exeter and how that kind of works for good and bad. I think you'll find that quite useful if you find yourself in that situation. There are some hints and tips in there as well, so plenty there. It's a bit of a longer video, but there's plenty there that I think you'll find interesting, so let's get on with it. Okay, hello everyone. So I'm in this 2025 Model 3 long range today. I've got it on a test drive from Tesla and Exeter because my Model Y has been bought in today for that typical creaking that you get through the suspension and steering. I booked it for 8 o'clock in the morning because I was told previously the earlier you get there, the sooner you'll get seen and sorted out. But it's looking as though it could be up until about 4 o'clock, which is a bit irritating. But to be fair, they've all been really friendly and helpful so far. The girl has been taking care of it. Millie has been really good. She's kept me updated. You can see she's doing her best. There aren't many staff around and stuff. But it's comfortable, there's coffee and all sorts of stuff, and they've got me this car on a test drive, which they said I can have till 3 o'clock, so I can pootle around, do a bit of a test drive. I quite fancy a 3 potentially at some point. I think I'm probably more likely to go for a performance because what I like about the Y is the size and the kind of, the family sort of practicality. I like the size of it. But I think if I was going for something a bit smaller and a bit more sporty like this, I would want the full-on alloys and the 0 to 60 in 2.9 and all that sort of stuff. I think this car looks lovely in red, but the wheels, the standard wheels, look a bit cheap. The plastic covers, I think. So for me, it would have to be big wheels and all of that for me to feel as though I'd got a real gem of a car. Whether I will go from a Y to a 3, I'm not sure, because I do like the size of the Y. I like the boot space and all that sort of stuff. I even like being a tiny bit higher, but I have to say my first impressions of driving this car, it's so much more refined and quiet than my Y, which is a shame. It kind of annoys me slightly that the Y isn't quite so refined. This thing just feels really quiet. It's better over poor surfaces and stuff. So that alone does kind of make me go, this is a more relaxed car to drive around in actually. It's much quieter, which I really like. And I look behind me and actually, there isn't as much space as the Y, but there is not a lot of difference as well. I've got 2 kids that are the main people that use the back seats, and actually there's still tons of room in this 3, to be fair. This passenger seat's fairly far forward, but there's enough room there for a decent sized adult and tons of space behind. So it's just the boot space that would let it down for me. Glass roof is divided in the middle, of course, in the 3, which doesn't really detract, I don't think, in some ways actually. In fact, it feels that it comes further forward to the windscreen than on my Y, which is nice actually. Yeah. I also like the adjustability of the seat. In my Y, I can't get the seat low enough. I feel like I'm sat a bit too high. This has allowed me to go a bit lower. But let's do a bit of a test drive and see what you think, see what I think. Brake and then swipe on the screen, which feels a little bit weird, but it's not the end of the world. I don't like the indicators, if I'm honest, on the steering wheel, but you'd get used to them. To be fair, reverse camera's looking pretty good. Yeah. It's done a couple of things so far on this drive that I don't like. It's my Y very rarely interferes with my driving. The only time it annoys me is when I overtake a lorry on the dual carriageway or something and go to pull back in front of it, and I can be miles away from it and it still tugs at the steering wheel to stop me from crashing, even though I'm nowhere near crashing, and that irritates me a bit. This 3 has done a few things just driving around Exeter. I felt it tugging at the wheel a few times completely unnecessarily. I don't know what it's trying to do. I don't know if that's something you can change in settings or not, but that is a bit irritating. I don't really like my driving to be interfered with too much. I actually find it quite dangerous. But it's so quiet. Whee. Let's get down this road a minute, shall we? So a rolling start, you're doing sort of like 15 miles an hour and just, yeah, 50, just like that. It certainly takes off well enough. The performance will drain the blood from your head and make you feel a bit sick, whereas this just feels quick. It doesn't feel a lot quicker than my Y, to be fair, but a little bit, I would say. Yeah. It's just, for me, the main thing is how much quieter it feels, actually. I do feel a bit more cocooned from the outside world, which I like. Actually just stopped for breakfast a minute ago in a farm shop nearby, which was lovely, and had a message from Tesla service saying that I do need, I can't remember what it said, I will put it in afterwards for you to read yourselves. Linkages, roll bar linkages or something, front and back potentially, and then it said review estimate, and I was bricking it thinking it was going to be hundreds of pounds for that, and the estimate's come through as 0, so we'll see, really. I'm not too sure whether I believe that. I feel like the app might update itself in a minute and then sting me for something, but we are still within warranty, but I know what warranties are like. They don't cover normal wear and tear items and things like that, so we will see. If it does come out at 0, then you might find yourself a bit of a Tesla fanboy here, but we'll see. It's lovely and refined, it really is, actually. I'm doing 50 now. It's 62 decibels. That's pretty impressive. The 3 so far is really impressing me. If I had to do a long trip in this, I'd feel really, really comfortable and cosseted. I think it's really nice. Let's just come on to dual carriageway a minute, and I'll test the stereo in a minute. So we're doing 40 and then 70, yeah. So it's 60 mile an hour, 67 decibels. Very, very nice. Really nice. Stereo then. What's the stereo like in the 2025 Model 3 long range?
Did I dream the whole thing? Was that just a nightmare?
I'm not convinced that sounds quite as good as my Y, actually. Oh, it's tugging at me. It's tugging for changing lanes. Just because I didn't signal. There was no one to signal to. Yeah, the stereo doesn't feel quite such high quality as my 2022 Y. I don't know if they've changed anything. I know some of the newer Teslas have less speakers potentially and stuff, but good enough, I would say. But let's put it in. I want to have a quick look at the outside of the car for you a minute. Lovely just cruising along that quiet, to be fair, I have to say. Call me an old man, but there's something very nice about that. It's just really relaxing. If I was a passenger in this car and I was being driven well, then I'd fall asleep pretty quickly. Right, let's have a quick look at the outside a minute. I quite like the colour. I'm not crazy about the red. It is quite pretty in the sunlight. But for me, a nice colour on a car can look nice on its own, as in that's a pretty colour. But does the car actually look that great as a whole piece? I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Check the boot a minute, because that's what matters to us as a family, to be fair. It's much smaller than the Y. Much less usable. Rear space. Pretty decent. That passenger seat's forward, but lovely perforated seats for the cooling. I do like it. Yeah, they're nice looking cars. The red is nice. People rave about different colours. I still think white looks good. I think black looks good as well. I think white and black look good on most nice looking cars. The red's a pretty colour. Is it worth? Yeah, it's definitely worth the money, I would say, because I don't think the paint job is, when you're spending nearly 50 grand on a car or whatever it is you're spending, 30, 40, if you're going to quibble over a couple of £1,000 for a colour, I don't really understand that personally. I think when you're spending that sort of money, just get what colour you want. I personally got a white Model Y because that was the colour we wanted. Black wheels, white interior, blacked out windows, looks pretty cool. Black badges, I think it looks nice. I will head back now to the Tesla service place, and I want to try the cooled seats. These seats do feel, particularly the perforated bit, feels higher quality than on my Y. I always worry they're going to rip on the Y, but these feel quite sturdy. But I want to see how the cooled seats work, to be honest, because I've never had cooled seats in a car, and I'm quite keen to see how that works. So seats, cool. Okay. Let's give that a go. Sat nav, I need to go back to Tesla, as they say in America. Tesla Center, Exeter. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about the Elon Musk stuff. Are any of you getting cold feet and wanting to sell up? I couldn't give a toss personally. I think most major car manufacturers have probably got a few arseholes at the top making all the money at the end of the day. Not particularly keen on his Nazi salute that he did. Obviously, fairly stupid thing to do, or fairly weird thing to do really. But for all his negativity, the guy's still a genius. I still like these cars. I certainly won't be selling mine because of that. Just be interested to hear your thoughts on that. If anyone's had any negative experiences. I haven't so far, thank goodness, but I live in a relatively quiet part of the world, so we'll see. Hopefully things won't get any worse. Yeah. Head back, 8 minutes away, 4.9 miles. God, it's hardly using any battery as well. They're efficient, these cars, aren't they? I think I'm on the same 65. I know, I was on 69% when I left, actually, to be fair. I'm at 65 now. Right, let's get out. Let's head back to Tesla. I have to say, when it comes to opinions about cars and stuff, just buy what you want at the end of the day. If you like something and you can afford it, have it. Right, from near standstill. 60. Yeah, just have what you want. Like, does it really matter what other people think?
In 1 mile, take the A38 slip road on the right towards Exeter.
Yeah, I've never cared what people think about the sort of car I drive. I drive what I like, whether that's been BMWs that have been unpopular or something else obnoxious or a Tesla, whatever it is. If I like it, I'll have it. I don't care what other people think. I don't want to have something deliberately that's going to upset people necessarily. Of course, I'm not that antisocial, but I like what I like, and the only opinion really that matters to me is my own when it comes to my own car. Well, these cooled seats are lovely. I could do with that actually. My sweaty arse on a long journey. Yeah, that's really quite cool. It's probably quite good for you as well. Probably quite good for the old sperm count. Not that we're too interested in that at 44 years old, but you know, might be worth bearing in mind for someone younger. Jesus Christ, the car's trying to stop me. I don't want to signal every time. The signal's horrible on this car. See, that's the sort of thing that does annoy me a little bit. There's no one to signal to, so I don't want to use these horrible buttons on the wheel. my Y doesn't do that. I can cross lines without it tugging, which is nice. It's just another luxury that I haven't had before, to be fair. I quite like it. I know lots of cars come with cool seats potentially, but I've had plenty of cars with heated seats, and I always like that. But to have cooled as well is nice. It's like James May
Now
says.
into the roundabout and take the third exit.
It's like James May says as well. It's like to be part of it. It's nice to be part of the experiment. People have said to me, "Oh, it's the future," and it's like, okay, maybe, but even if it isn't, it's the present, and I'm kind of keen just to give it a go and see what it's like. If it turns out electric isn't the future, then I'll go back to petrol.
Now turn left to stay on Matford Way.
It's not a problem. I think it's nice to have choice. Petrol cars and electric cars. Cool, that was fun. Decent car. Okay, so I've got it back. It is now 4:45 and I got it at 8 o'clock just before. So I've got a few things to report. I was told that the car would be looked at sooner if I got there sooner, which didn't happen, unfortunately. Been there all day, but it's not been the end of the world. The girl who was looking after me was really good, friendly, helpful and stuff like that. It did say on the app that it could be up to 4 o'clock, and she said a few times it might be earlier. I didn't really think it would be. It isn't, it's actually later. It's now 20 to 5. But they reckon the technician or the mechanic who dealt with it is one of the more thorough ones. He does take his time and stuff, so I'm quite grateful for that. They reckon it should be pretty spot on. It feels good. I've just got in it after driving that Model 3 earlier, that 2025 Model 3, and I have to say I do love my Y. I'm a bit higher up, I've got a bit more space. And although the seats aren't perforated and cooled, they do look quite nice, that smooth effect kind of thing. It feels a bit more premium getting in and out of as well. I found when I was getting in and out of the 3, the door felt slightly more tinny somehow, which is a bit strange, I didn't really expect. And I suppose being it sounds a bit silly, I never used to say this sort of thing, but being a smaller car, it just felt a bit less of a car somehow. I found out afterwards, after I gave it back, that it was the long range rear wheel drive. So I assumed it was a twin motor because it felt pretty quick. But it being a rear wheel drive, that would be only a single motor, wouldn't it? And to be fair, with hindsight, it didn't feel any quicker than this. This is a long range dual motor. So that would be about right, I suppose. But I'm quite impressed that for the bog standard model, it was as quick as it was. So there really is an argument, I would say, for going for the cheap model with the 3 in some ways. If all you want is just a good car and you're not obsessed with performance figures and stuff, then that's cool. Yeah, it's a good case we made for the cheap model. I still like my Y though. The noise is gone now, the creaking is gone, which is great. She said that there's a creaking in the tailgate that could be something to look at later on. I thought, oh god. I asked her, is it good for MOT now? And she reckons it is. They can't guarantee that, of course. I know things can happen between now and June. But I would expect after sort of being sat there for 8 hours and work being done. Having said that, I haven't paid anything for it. It was free as well, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I got quoted, here's the big one, 1,500 quid because my tyres are worn. I've been looking at them and they didn't look illegal to me, but actually on the side, on the very edge that you can't see unless you lock the wheel, they're worn down pretty severely, so they need changing now. I want Michelin's put back on again, and they quoted me 1,500 quid for 4 Michelin's. I know I can get them. I knew when they said that I could get them for about 1,000. So I double checked with the people who normally supply them, and they're a reputable tyre dealer that I normally go to, and it's about £1,000 fully fitted. So, you know, had it been an extra £100, I might have just said, sod it, get it done today for convenience and stuff. It's probably not worth my while faffing around. Also, my wife needs to take the car to Southampton tomorrow, so I'm a little bit worried about that. She's just going to have to go really steady. Probably shouldn't be taking it, to be fair, but we are just going to get on with it, and she'll do it, and then I'll get them replaced for £1,000. I personally think £1,000 for 4 Michelins. It's done 32,000 miles, so you could argue 30,000 miles they were good for. I personally think that's pretty good value. 30,000 miles, £1,000 tyres, Michelin's, top notch tyres. I know people try and skimp and put cheaper stuff on, but I would go with Michelin's again. Michelin are a good name. They're what come with the car standard, so that's what I'm going to be putting on, but I'll be putting them on for much less money. I think that's a bit naughty of Tesla to charge that much more. Extra £100, even extra £200, you could sort of go, fair enough. But extra £500, that's a bit silly, really, I think. I'm not one for throwing £500 down the drain, really. But yeah, overall, it was a very slow experience. I feel a little bit like I wasn't prioritised, potentially, because I saw lots of people come and go. Perhaps their things were more minor, but my learning from that would be that I won't necessarily book in for 8 o'clock next time. I'll probably rock up at like 9, 10 o'clock next time, because I suspect it'll be done in the same time. It didn't benefit me getting there early. But yeah, I'm back in my 2022 long range, and I love it. I do, actually. It makes me realise how much I love it even more after that 2025 Model 3. And if you're a fan of the Model 3, I'm not knocking it. I think the 3 is great. I think it's brilliant. It's cheaper than the Y. It's more efficient. I would get more miles to a charge from it, which would be something which would be valuable, to be fair. I would like to get, the way my wife and I use our car, a few more miles would be handy, to be fair. So it's definitely worth considering, but I just love the size and space of the Y. I think it's great. To me, the only thing I don't like about the Y is when you see it coming towards you on the road. I think front on it looks a bit awkward, a bit pinched and tall, but I think from other angles it looks quite cool. From behind it looks quite good, from the side it looks pretty cool, particularly when you've got the black 20-inch alloys that I've got on. I think it looks quite smart in white. It's not a car I bought for its looks, but I personally like the looks. I like the white interior. So yeah, I will now drive to Cornwall. I've got about an hour and 14 minutes to go. I'm on 53% here. It's predicting 25% when I get there. And if anything interesting happens, I will let you know. But cheers for now.